Let's take a look now at what you need to do with your stories themselves to set them up, to format them, and to get them into these folders for the editing process to take place. Um, if you already have a story created in Microsoft Word or another word processing program, you can just upload it into Google Drive using the upload button there on the left hand side. Or if you want to create a new file, a new word processing document, you can just click the create folder and choose the type of file that you're working with, in this case a document. So I've done that in this particular example. Here's a file that I've created in Google Drive. It's just a word processing file, and it's an example of what your stories will look like, although your stories obviously will be longer than this. The first line of the story is your headline, and I have a pipe. It's that straight up and down character that's above the slash, below the delete key and above the return key on your keyboard. And that pipe just signifies that that's the end of the headline. Underneath the headline is a deck headline, so this is going to give a little bit more information to the reader than a regular headline does, and can be a little bit longer than a regular headline. Underneath that, you can see that we have your byline, so that's where your name goes. And then under that, we have the body of the story, and the body of your story should be double spaced. Just a regular, easy to read font is fine. This is Arial, Times New Roman, something like that's good. If you have a dateline for your story, if you've gone somewhere out of our city to do reporting, then you might dateline your story from a particular location, and then then the story starts. You'll notice that each of the paragraphs after the first paragraph are indented, but they're not indented with the manual tab key on your keyboard. You'll notice up here at the top of the screen is the ruler, and you can set your indent in this area up here. So this is really the best place to set your indents in the story, and it's going to make things a lot easier when it comes to designing pages or bringing your stories into websites, that sort of thing, if you use the indent in the rulers and not a manual tab as you're doing your stories. So go ahead, write your stories, double space, and then when you get to the last line in the story, at the end of the story, you want to put another pipe character. And that's just going to tell us that your story is done. This is the end of the story. Anything that you put after that pipe character, then we're going to know as we publish your content onto the website or publish your content into the final project that anything after this pipe is just notes that you've added into your story. And some of the notes that we want you to have with every story that you put into the system, we want to know if there is related information to go along with your story. In this case, your story package should have graphics or ASFs, photos or multimedia content, some sort of engagement piece, that sort of thing that goes along with your story. So this is a space then where you can list the names of each of those files so that we can go find those and publish them along with your main story. We also want you to make sure to include a source list, so we want the name and contact information for all the sources that you use in your story. So you'll want to list that then at the end of your story. And then feel free to add any other notes that you think would be helpful to the editors and the instructors to help provide context or explain things that you might think are a little confusing here and there in the story. Along with kind of being able to add notes at the end of the story, you can also use the comments feature in Google Docs to add comments throughout the story. So if you have a source who has an unusual spelling of their name, then you might add a comment into your story just to let the editors know, hey, I double checked this, or you can check this information at this website. Again, comments are something that won't be published with your other story. They're just notes that'll help folks through the editing process as they take a look at your materials. The other thing that's important whenever you create and get ready to file your story is the name of that story. So you'll see here at the upper left, this is the file name that I have. If you click on that, it'll open up a little pop-up window for you that'll allow you to rename the document. For this class, we want to make sure that every file that's put into the Google Drive newsroom area follows the same standards for naming. That way we can easily find the files that we're looking for. We can easily sort through it and see what we have and what might need attention. So here's kind of the formula to use as you're putting together the name of your document. You'll notice that this particular document has the letter J to start out with. Depending on who your instructor is, I want you to use the first letter of your instructor's name as the first letter of your file name. So if you're in Jeremy's class, then your file names are all going to start with the letter J. If you're in Cheryl's class, a C, Darcy a D, Serena an S. So your instructor's first letter of their first name is the first character of your file name. And then you'll see that I have an underscore rather than using a space. I've used an underscore, and then after that is the slug line to your story. Now you may remember from Journalism 200 and Journalism 300 where you had to include a slug along with your story. And this is just a 1 or 2 word explanation of what your story is about. It's kind of a keyword descriptor of your story. It's not a headline, but it helps us identify and find your story based on the topic. And then after that, we've got a space for your last name so that we know that, here you are, and you've written the story, Journalism 400 Rocks. And then the last set of numbers here is just month, day, year of when the day that you filed your story. So if I'm filing this story today, and today is the 25th of September, then I'm going to put 0925-2012 at the end of the name of my file.